She told everyone he was infertile to cover her affair. The DNA results at the family reunion exposed everything. Thomas, stop embarrassing yourself. The doctor confirmed you are shooting blanks. You cannot give me children. Accept it and move on. Those were the cruel words Jennifer Hayes whispered to her husband at her parents' anniversary dinner before announcing to the entire family that their lack of children was entirely his fault. She had no idea that the man she humiliated was about to discover a truth at the next family reunion that would destroy everything she built on lies. What happened next will make you question how far someone will go to hide betrayal. Viewers, have you ever been blamed for something you did not do while the real guilty party played victim? How did you handle it? Drop your thoughts in the comments. The argument started over something small, a comment from Jennifer's mother about grandchildren, but it grew into something Thomas Hayes could not ignore anymore. They sat in the living room of their modest two-bedroom house in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. The evening light filtered through the curtains, casting long shadows across the hardwood floors. Jennifer stood by the window, arms crossed, her back turned to him. "I am tired of your mother asking about babies," she said, her voice tight with frustration. "Every family dinner, every holiday, every phone call. When are you giving me grandchildren? Do not you want children? Are you even trying?" Thomas leaned forward on the couch, rubbing his temples. "I know it is hard, but she does not mean anything by it. She just wants us to be happy." Jennifer spun around, her eyes flashing. "Happy? How can I be happy when everyone thinks something is wrong with me? When they look at me with pity at church? When your aunts whisper about me at family gatherings? I cannot take this anymore, Thomas. 5 years, Jennifer. We have been married 5 years. These things take time. Not this much time." She walked across the room and stood in front of him. "I went to the doctor last month. Without you." Thomas looked up sharply. "What?" "I had fertility testing done. Full panel. The results came back perfect. I am completely fertile. My eggs are healthy. My hormones are balanced. Everything works exactly as it should." The words hung in the air between them. Thomas felt something cold settle in his chest. "What are you saying?" "I am saying that if I am fine, then the problem must be you." Thomas stood slowly. "Jennifer, we do not even know if there is a problem. Some couples take years to conceive naturally. That is what the doctors said when we went together." She shook her head. "No, I am done waiting. I am done being looked at like I am broken. I need you to get tested, properly tested." "I will go with you," Thomas said quietly. "We can do this together." "No." She grabbed her purse from the counter. "You will go alone. You will get the full fertility panel. And when the results come back, we will finally know the truth." The next week, Thomas sat in Dr. Harrison's office at Chapel Hill Medical Center, feeling like he was waiting for a verdict. The walls were covered with diplomas and family photos. A painting of the Blue Ridge Mountains hung behind the doctor's desk. Dr. Harrison was a man in his early 60s with graying hair and kind eyes that had delivered difficult news too many times to count. "Mr. Hayes," the doctor said, reviewing the file on his desk, "I have your test results." Thomas's hands gripped the armrests. "And? Everything is completely normal. Your sperm count is excellent. Motility is above average. Morphology is within healthy parameters. There is absolutely nothing wrong with your fertility. You are perfectly capable of fathering children." The relief should have been overwhelming. Instead, Thomas felt confusion. Then why? Dr. Harrison set down the file. There could be many reasons why a couple has not conceived. Timing, stress, underlying health issues that have not been identified yet. But from a male fertility standpoint, you are not the problem. Have you and your wife been tracking her ovulation, using fertility aids? Considering that her tests came back normal as well, I would recommend seeing a fertility specialist who can look at both of you together. Thomas nodded slowly, but something felt wrong. Something in Jennifer's desperation to prove it was his fault. Something in the way she had been distant lately. Coming home late from work, spending hours on her phone, smiling at messages she would not share. He drove home with the test results in an envelope on the passenger seat. When he walked through the door, Jennifer was on the couch watching television. "Thomas," she said without looking up, "did you get the results?" "Yes." "And?" He pulled the envelope from his jacket. "The doctor said I am fine. Everything is normal. I can have children." Jennifer's face went blank. "That cannot be right." "It is right. I saw the numbers myself." Dr. Harrison explained everything. "I am fertile, Jennifer. The problem is not me." She stood up quickly, her expression hardening. "Then they made a mistake. They mixed up your results with someone else. That happens all the time." "No, it does not. And they did not make a mistake." Jennifer grabbed her keys from the table. "I need air. Wait, we need to talk about this. What is really going on?" "Nothing is going on." She pulled her coat on with sharp, angry movements. "I just needed an answer. Now I have it. The tests are wrong. You are infertile. That is the only explanation that makes sense." She walked out, slamming the door behind her. Thomas stood in the empty living room, the test results still in his hand, wondering why his wife was so desperate to believe something that was not true. 2 months later, Thomas sat across from Jennifer at her parents' 40th wedding anniversary dinner. The restaurant was elegant, filled with family members celebrating 4 decades of marriage. Jennifer's parents, Robert and Patricia Morrison, sat at the head of the table, surrounded by their children and grandchildren. Everyone except Thomas and Jennifer had kids. The reminder sat heavy in the air. Jennifer's sister Amanda bounced her 1-year-old daughter on her lap while her husband cut up chicken for their 4-year-old son. Her brother Michael's 3 kids ran around the private dining room, laughing and playing. Even her younger cousin Sarah, barely 25, was 8 months pregnant and glowing with excitement. "So, Jennifer," Patricia said with forced cheerfulness, "any news you want to share with the family?" Jennifer's fork clattered against her plate. "No, Mom. No news." Patricia's smile tightened. "I just thought maybe after 5 years, you might have some good news." Robert cleared his throat. "Patricia, let them be. They will have children when the time is right. The time would be right if we could have them." Jennifer's voice cut through the conversation like a knife. Everyone stopped talking. Michael put down his wine glass. Amanda stopped bouncing her daughter. Even the kids sensed the tension and quieted down. "What do you mean?" Amanda asked gently. Jennifer looked at Thomas with an expression he could not read. Then she turned to her family. "We cannot have children because Thomas is infertile." The words felt like a slap. Thomas stared at her, unable to process what she had just said. "Jennifer, that is not true." "Yes, it is." She did not even look at him. "He got tested. The results were clear. He cannot give me children." "Stop," Thomas said, his voice rising. "That is a complete lie. I showed you the test results. The doctor said I am perfectly fine." Jennifer laughed, but it was cold and cruel. "Thomas, stop embarrassing yourself. The doctor confirmed you are shooting blanks. You cannot give me children. Accept it and move on." Patricia pressed a hand to her chest, looking between them. "Thomas, is this true?" "No." He felt heat rising in his face. "The doctor told me my fertility is completely normal. I am not infertile. My wife is lying." Jennifer turned to him with an expression of pity that felt like acid. "Denial is not going to help us. I know this is hard for your ego, but the family deserves to know why we do not have children. They deserve to know it is not my fault." The room erupted in uncomfortable murmurs. Thomas saw the looks, the pitying glances from the women, the awkward sympathy from the men, the judgment settling over him like a heavy blanket. He stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. "I am not sitting here and letting you rewrite reality. The test results proved I am fertile. Why are you lying about this? Because I cannot keep taking the blame." Jennifer's voice broke with false emotion. "Every holiday, every gathering, everyone looks at me like I am broken, like I failed as a woman, when the truth is, you cannot give me what I want. What you want or what someone else already gave you. The words came out before Thomas could stop them. The implication hung in the air like smoke. Jennifer's face went pale. How dare you? How dare I? You come home late. You hide your phone. You smile at messages you will not show me. And now you are lying to your entire family about me being infertile, when we both know that is not true. Jennifer grabbed her purse. I do not have to listen to this. She looked at her family with tears in her eyes. I am sorry you had to see him like this. He cannot accept the truth. She walked out of the restaurant, leaving Thomas standing alone in front of her family. Amanda broke the silence. Thomas, maybe you should go home and cool off. Yeah, Michael added. This is not the place for this conversation. Thomas looked around the table at the faces that had once welcomed him. Now they looked at him with discomfort and doubt. Every single one of them believed Jennifer's lie. He grabbed his jacket and walked out, knowing something had fundamentally changed in his marriage. Something that could not be fixed with conversation or counseling. Something that ran deeper than he wanted to admit. 3 months passed in cold silence. Jennifer moved into the guest bedroom, claiming she needed space. She stopped coming home for dinner, stopped answering questions about her day. The house that had once felt like a home became a place where 2 strangers lived separate lives under the same roof. Thomas tried to talk to her, tried to understand why she lied, but every conversation ended the same way, with Jennifer insisting he was infertile and Thomas knowing that was not true. Then one morning in early September, Jennifer walked into the kitchen where Thomas was drinking coffee and reading the news on his tablet. She looked different. Her face had a glow he had not seen in months. Her hand rested protectively on her stomach. Thomas looked up. Are you okay? I am pregnant. The words hung between them like a guillotine blade. Thomas set down his coffee slowly, his mind racing through the implications. Pregnant? How? We had relations 3 months ago. You remember. That one night after your birthday dinner. I was not sure if it would take, given your condition. But apparently, miracles happen. Thomas felt the ground tilt beneath him. 3 months ago, they had been intimate exactly once. One awkward, uncomfortable night that had felt more like obligation than connection. And now she was telling him she was pregnant from that one time, when she had spent months insisting he was infertile? Jennifer, if I am infertile like you told your entire family, how did you get pregnant? She met his eyes without flinching. Sometimes even low fertility can result in pregnancy. It is rare but possible. That is not what infertility means. Infertile means unable to conceive, not unlikely to conceive. Then I guess you are not as infertile as the doctors thought. She smiled, but it did not reach her eyes. This is good news. Thomas, we are finally going to be parents. Are we? What is that supposed to mean? It means your story does not add up. You spent months telling everyone I could not give you children. You moved into another bedroom. You have been distant and secretive. And now suddenly, you are pregnant? Jennifer's expression hardened. You should be happy. Instead, you are questioning me? Yes, I am questioning you. Because nothing about this makes sense. Unless... He stopped, the realization hitting him like cold water. Unless what? Unless that baby is not mine. The accusation hung in the air like poison. Jennifer's face flushed red. You are insane. Am I? Or did you tell everyone I was infertile because you were already pregnant with someone else's child? She grabbed her purse and headed for the door. I am not listening to this. I am going to my mother's. When you are ready to apologize and be a father, you can call me. She left, and Thomas sat alone in the kitchen, staring at the coffee that had gone cold. Deep in his gut, he knew the truth. The baby was not his. Jennifer stayed at her parents' house for 2 weeks. During that time, Thomas received calls from her entire family. Her mother crying about how he was abandoning his pregnant wife. Her father demanding he man up and take responsibility. Her sister Amanda telling him pregnancy hormones made women emotional and he needed to be understanding. Even her brother Michael, who had always been decent to Thomas, called to say he was disappointed, No one believed him. No one even considered that Jennifer might be lying, because she had already planted the seed. She had told everyone he was infertile, and now here she was, pregnant. In their minds, it was proof that miracles happened, proof that even low fertility could result in a child, proof that Thomas should be grateful instead of suspicious. But Thomas knew better. He hired a private investigator. Daniel Garrett was a former police detective who now ran a small investigation firm in Durham. His office was in a converted warehouse, filled with filing cabinets and computer equipment. Thomas sat across from him, explaining the situation. "I need to know if my wife is having an affair," Thomas said. "And if she is, I need to know who the father of her baby really is." Daniel leaned back in his chair. "I can help with the first part. The second part is trickier. You cannot force a paternity test without her consent or a court order. And getting a court order requires evidence of infidelity." "What kind of evidence?" "Photos, messages, witnesses, financial records showing unusual spending. Anything that establishes a pattern of deception." Thomas nodded slowly. "How long will this take? Could be days, could be weeks, depends how careful she has been." 2 weeks later, Daniel called Thomas to his office. His expression was grim as he slid a folder across the desk. "The news is not good." Thomas opened the folder and felt his world collapse. Inside were photos. Jennifer meeting a man at a coffee shop in Raleigh. The same man walking her to a hotel. The two of them leaving together the next morning. Timestamps showed this had been going on for at least 8 months. Long before she got pregnant. "Who is he?" Daniel pointed to a printed background report. "His name is Andrew Mitchell. He is a pharmaceutical sales representative. Lives in Raleigh. Married with 2 kids. Has a history of affairs based on some discreet inquiries I made." Thomas stared at the photos, numbness spreading through him. "She lied about everything." "Yeah," Daniel said quietly. "She did. And the pregnancy? If she got pregnant 3 months ago, based on what you told me, and she was seeing this guy regularly during that time frame, the odds are strong that Andrew Mitchell is the biological father. But we cannot prove that without a DNA test. Which I cannot get without her cooperation or a court order," Thomas said. "Exactly." Daniel tapped the folder. "But you have enough here to file for divorce on grounds of adultery, and once the baby is born, you can request a paternity test through the court. If it proves the child is not yours, you will not be responsible for child support." Thomas closed the folder, his hands shaking with suppressed rage. Not just rage at Jennifer for her betrayal, but rage at her calculated cruelty. She had publicly humiliated him, told his entire family and hers that he was infertile, made him the villain in a story where she was the victim, all to cover up her affair and trick everyone into believing the baby was his. "Thank you, Daniel." He stood up. "Send me your final invoice. I will pay it today. And keep these photos safe. I have a feeling I am going to need them." 2 days later, Thomas served Jennifer with divorce papers at her parents' house. Her mother answered the door, her expression cold. "Thomas, if you are here to apologize, it is about time." "I am not here to apologize, Patricia. I am here to serve your daughter with divorce papers for adultery." He held out the envelope. Patricia's face went white. "What? Where is Jennifer?" "You need to leave right now." "No, I do not." Thomas pushed past her into the house. Jennifer was in the living room with her father, looking at baby furniture catalogs. She looked up when Thomas entered, and her expression shifted from surprise to fear when she saw the papers in his hand. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Ending our marriage." He dropped the papers on the coffee table. "You are being sued for divorce on grounds of adultery. I have photos, receipts, witness statements, all proving you have been having an affair with Andrew Mitchell for the past 8 months. Robert stood up quickly. "That is a serious accusation, Thomas. I do not make accusations. I state facts. Your daughter has been lying to everyone. She told you all I was infertile when medical tests proved otherwise. Then she got pregnant with another man's child and tried to pass it off as mine." "That is not true," Jennifer said, but her voice shook. "It is true. and you know it." He pointed at the papers. "Read them. Everything is documented, including the dates you told everyone I was infertile, which was 2 months after you started sleeping with Andrew Mitchell." Patricia pressed her hand to her mouth, looking at her daughter. "Jennifer, is this true?" "Of course not," Jennifer said, but tears were streaming down her face. "He is lying. He is just angry because I am pregnant and he does not want to be a father." Thomas pulled out his phone and showed them the photos. There she was, walking into a hotel with Andrew Mitchell, leaving the next morning, meeting him at restaurants. The timestamps were clear, so were the expressions on their faces. Jennifer's parents stared at the photos in shocked silence. "I want a paternity test as soon as the baby is born," Thomas said, his voice cold and final. "And when it proves that child is not mine, I want it on record that you lied to everyone, that you destroyed my reputation to cover your affair." "Jennifer," Robert's voice was barely a whisper. "What have you done?" But Jennifer just sat there, crying, unable to deny what was right in front of them. Thomas walked out of the house, leaving the divorce papers behind. The truth was finally exposed, but he knew this was only the beginning. The real reckoning would come when that baby was born, and when the DNA test proved what everyone would finally have to accept, that Jennifer Hayes had built an empire of lies, and Thomas had been buried beneath them. 6 months later, Jennifer gave birth to a baby boy she named Christopher. The entire Morrison family gathered at the hospital to meet the newest addition. But Thomas was not invited. He was living in an apartment across town, waiting for the DNA test that would finally prove the truth. His lawyer, Margaret Phillips, was a sharp woman in her 50s who specialized in family law. She sat across from Thomas in her office, reviewing the court order. "The judge approved the paternity test," she said. "It will be conducted 1 week after the baby is born. Given the evidence of adultery we presented, the court agreed there was sufficient cause to question paternity." Thomas nodded, feeling nothing. He should have felt angry. He should have felt betrayed. Instead, he just felt tired. 6 months of watching his marriage dissolve. 6 months of being cut off from Jennifer's family. 6 months of being known as the man who abandoned his pregnant wife. Even though he had proof of her affair, most people still believed Jennifer's version. The poor wife, whose infertile husband, could not accept a miracle baby. "The test results will take about 3 days after the sample is collected," Margaret continued. "Once we have proof the child is not yours, we can finalize the divorce without any child support obligations. And my reputation?" Margaret sighed. "That is harder to fix. Even with proof, some people will always believe what they want to believe. The best thing you can do is move forward with your life." But Thomas was not ready to move forward. Not yet, because in 2 weeks, the Morrison family was having their annual summer reunion at Lake Norman. A massive gathering of aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, over 60 people coming together to celebrate family. And this year, they would all be meeting baby Christopher for the first time. All of them believing he was Thomas and Jennifer's miracle child. All of them believing the lie, unless Thomas showed up with the truth. The Lake Norman reunion took place at the Morrison family's vacation property, a sprawling estate on the waterfront with a main house and several guest cabins. The property had been in the family for 3 generations. Every summer, the Morrisons gathered there for a week of swimming, fishing, barbecues, and bonding. Thomas had attended every reunion for the past 6 years. Until this one, he was not invited, but he was coming anyway. He pulled up to the property on Saturday afternoon when the reunion was in full swing. Cars lined the long driveway. He could hear music and laughter echoing from the backyard. Children's voices mixed with adults chatting. The smell of grilled food drifted through the warm summer air. Thomas sat in his car for a long moment, holding the manila envelope that contained everything: the DNA test results, the photos of Jennifer's affair, the timeline proving when she got pregnant and who she was seeing at the time, everything that would destroy the lie she had built. Then he got out of the car and walked toward the backyard. The party stopped the moment he appeared. Conversations died. People turned to stare. Patricia Morrison, standing near the grill with a plate of hamburgers, froze when she saw him. "Thomas," she said sharply, "you were not invited." "I know." He walked into the center of the gathering, feeling every eye on him. "But I needed to be here." Jennifer was sitting in a lounge chair near the lake, holding baby Christopher. She looked up when she heard Thomas's voice, and her face went pale. The baby was 2 weeks old, tiny and perfect, wrapped in a blue blanket. Around Jennifer, her sisters and cousins had been cooing over the baby, taking photos, celebrating the newest Morrison. Now, they all stared at Thomas with hostility. "You need to leave," Robert said, walking toward Thomas with his arms crossed. "This is a family event. I am still married to your daughter, Robert. That makes me family." "Not for long," Jennifer said, her voice shaking. "The divorce will be final in a few weeks. Then you will have no reason to be here." Thomas held up the envelope. "Actually, that is why I am here. To make sure everyone knows the truth before that divorce is final." Jennifer's sister Amanda stepped forward. "We already know your version of the truth, Thomas. You think Jennifer had an affair. You think that baby is not yours. But we do not believe you, and neither does anyone else here. Then let me show you proof." He opened the envelope and pulled out the DNA test results. Last week, by court order, Christopher was given a paternity test. The results came back 3 days ago. He held up the paper so everyone could see the bold text at the bottom. Probability of paternity, 0%. Exclusion. Thomas Hayes is not the biological father. The gathered family members leaned forward, reading the words. Patricia gasped. Amanda's mouth fell open. Michael grabbed the paper from Thomas and read it himself. "This." Jennifer stood up quickly, nearly dropping the baby. "This does not prove anything. It proves everything." Thomas's voice carried across the silent backyard. "You told everyone I was infertile. You humiliated me in front of your entire family. You made me the villain while you played the victim, all to cover up the fact that you were having an affair and got pregnant with another man's child." "Who?" Robert demanded, his face red with anger and humiliation. "Who is the father?" "His name is Andrew Mitchell," Thomas said, "pharmaceutical sales rep from Raleigh. Married with 2 kids. Your daughter has been sleeping with him for over a year." He pulled out the photos next. "Here she is, meeting him at hotels. Here they are at restaurants. Here is the timeline showing she got pregnant right in the middle of their affair." He spread the photos out on the picnic table like cards in a poker game. Patricia picked up one of the photos, her hand shaking. "Jennifer, please tell me this is not true." But Jennifer just stood there, holding Christopher, tears streaming down her face. She did not deny it, could not deny it. The evidence was overwhelming. "You lied," Amanda said, her voice breaking. "You told us Thomas was infertile. You made us all believe him when you were the one lying the entire time." "I had to," Jennifer finally spoke, her voice desperate. "Everyone was asking about babies. Everyone kept looking at me like something was wrong with me. I could not tell you I was having an affair. I could not admit the baby was not Thomas's. So, I made everyone believe it was his fault we did not have kids." "You destroyed my reputation," Thomas said quietly. "You made your entire family hate me. You turned everyone against me to protect your lie. And you almost got away with it." Michael looked at the baby in Jennifer's arms, then at the DNA results, then at his sister. "I cannot believe you did this. Mom, Dad, I am so sorry." Patricia walked away from the gathering, her hand pressed to her mouth, unable to look at her daughter. Robert stood frozen, the weight of his daughter's betrayal settling over him like a heavy coat. The cousins and aunts and uncles who had gathered to celebrate the new baby now stared at Jennifer with expressions ranging from shock to disgust. "What happens now?" Jennifer whispered. "Now?" Thomas picked up the photos and DNA results. "Now everyone knows the truth. The divorce will be finalized. You will have to tell Andrew Mitchell he is a father, and you will have to live with the fact that you destroyed 2 marriages with your lies." He looked around at the silent gathering. I did not come here for revenge. I came here for vindication. I needed everyone who believed her lies to see the proof, to know that I was telling the truth all along. He turned to walk away, but Robert's voice stopped him. Thomas, wait. Thomas turned back. Robert's face was grave, aged by the revelation. I owe you an apology. We all do. We believed her without question. We treated you like you were the problem. That was wrong. You were not wrong to believe your daughter, Thomas said quietly. You were wrong to not even consider that I might be telling the truth. There is a difference. He walked back to his car, leaving behind the shattered reunion. Behind him, he could hear Jennifer crying, her family's shocked murmurs, the weight of truth finally settling where lies had lived for too long. 1 year later, Thomas stood in his new photography studio in downtown Durham. The space was bright and modern, filled with equipment and samples of his work. After the divorce, he had left his job at the engineering firm and pursued the passion he had abandoned when he married Jennifer: photography. Specifically, wedding photography. There was something poetic about it, capturing other people's happy beginnings while his own marriage had ended in betrayal. A knock on the door interrupted his thoughts. He looked up to see Amanda standing in the doorway, looking uncertain. Thomas, she said quietly, do you have a minute? He set down the camera he was cleaning. Amanda, I did not expect to see you. I know. She stepped inside, looking around the studio. This is really nice. You are talented. Thank you. An uncomfortable silence stretched between them. Then Amanda spoke again. I came to apologize. Really apologize. Not just say sorry because I feel obligated. I believed Jennifer, without questioning her. I watched her destroy your reputation, and I did nothing. Worse, I actively participated in making you the villain. There was silence as Thomas considered her words. What changed your mind? The DNA results? That helped. But honestly, it was watching what happened after. Jennifer tried to make Andrew leave his wife for her. He refused. Now, she is a single mother, living with our parents, working part-time at a call center. Everyone in our family treats her differently now. She destroyed her own life with her lies. And you feel bad for her? No. Amanda shook her head. I feel bad for Christopher. That little boy did not ask to be born into this mess. And I feel bad for you. You tried to tell us the truth and we would not listen. Thomas leaned against his desk. I appreciate the apology, Amanda. Really. But the damage is done. Your family spent a year treating me like I was infertile and cruel. That does not go away just because the truth came out. I know. She pulled an envelope from her purse. That is why I wanted to give you this. It is a letter signed by everyone in the family. Mom, Dad, Michael, all the aunts and uncles, everyone apologizing for how we treated you. We cannot undo what happened, but we wanted you to know we were wrong. Thomas took the envelope but did not open it. Thank you, Amanda. How is Jennifer? Broken. She looks at Christopher and sees her biggest mistake. Mom and Dad are helping her raise him, but they are ashamed of her. The whole family is. She lost everything. Her marriage, her reputation, her dignity. All because she would not admit the truth. That is what happens when you build your life on lies, Thomas said. Eventually, the foundation crumbles. Amanda nodded. Are you doing okay? I am better than okay. This studio is thriving. I have bookings for the next 6 months. I am even seeing someone. A woman I met at a photography conference. Her name is Rachel. She is honest, kind, and she actually values me. Everything Jennifer pretended to be. I am happy for you, Thomas. You deserve it. They talked for a few more minutes before Amanda left. Thomas stood alone in his studio, holding the letter of apology he was not sure he would ever read, because the truth was, he had already moved on. The Thomas Hayes who married Jennifer Morrison was gone. That man had been naive, trusting, willing to sacrifice his dreams for someone else's comfort. The man standing here now was different. stronger, wiser, unwilling to accept blame for things he did not do. Jennifer had tried to bury him under lies. Instead, she had forced him to dig himself out and become someone better. 6 months later, Thomas married Rachel in a small ceremony in Asheville, surrounded by friends and Rachel's family. No one from the Morrison family was invited. He did not need their approval anymore, did not need their apologies or their presence in his life. He had built something new, something honest, something that was not tainted by betrayal or lies. On the day of his wedding, as he stood at the altar watching Rachel walk toward him in a simple white dress, Thomas thought briefly about Jennifer, about how she had told everyone he was infertile to cover her affair, about how she had humiliated him to protect herself, about how the DNA test at the family reunion had exposed everything she tried to hide, and he realized something important. She had not destroyed him. She had freed him to find someone who valued honesty, freed him to pursue his passion, freed him to become the man he was always meant to be, the man who would not accept blame for someone else's mistakes, the man who demanded truth, even when everyone else believed the lie. Rachel reached the altar and took his hands. Her smile was genuine, warm, full of love that was not performance or manipulation. This was real. This was honest. This was what marriage was supposed to be. And as they exchanged vows in front of people who truly cared about them, Thomas finally let go of the anger he had carried for so long. Jennifer had her consequences. She was living with them every day. He did not need revenge because life had already delivered justice. He just needed to live well. And that was exactly what he planned to do. Viewers, after everything Jennifer did, after the lies, the humiliation, and the betrayal that was exposed at that family reunion, do you think she got what she deserved? Or should Thomas have handled it differently? What would you do if someone blamed you for their own mistakes? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to like and subscribe for more true-to-life stories of betrayal, justice, and redemption.